talking about video games. Yeah!
Hey everyone, this is Edmund Arnold and you are listening to the Donkey Kong Artist. This week we have a very special episode because Pat is not here. Pat is getting married in August and he's doing wedding stuff. But I'm here with my very best friend, Collin Codega. Collin, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Just another day in paradise talking about some video games. How about yourself?
I'm doing alright. I'm a little bummed Pat's not here, but I'm a little happy because he's getting married. Everyone's growing up, and it's nice to see that.
Yeah, you know, as I always say, love always wins. So you can't get mad for someone just putting it all into some love.
Yeah, and if you haven't heard, we're announcing Pat is getting married. Big announcement from here. Everyone listening, all of our fans, Patrick is getting married. So if you are proud of him, you feel happy for him, send presents to me and I'll hold them for him.
Yeah, send presents to Eddie and myself, and then just send photos and boomerang videos of you blowing kisses to Pat over social media. That's all he wants. He doesn't want real gifts or money.
No, just to blow kisses and other pictures, if you get my gist. Speaking of announcements, we've had a lot of announcements this week, Collin, have we not?
Yeah, no, it's been I feel like we went through a lull of video game news where there wasn't a whole ton coming out, and there is a lot for us to sort through today.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to pick out stories to talk about because we've had things from like big studios shutting down, well, not big studios, minor studios shutting down, to things like a lot of game announcements. But we're here and we're going to just focus on the games today. And speaking of games, we had a big announcement. Rage 2 was announced. Seems that Bethesda, id, and who else?
Avalanche Studios
have gotten ahead of the Walmart leak from E3 Games, and it looks like we are getting a Rage 2.
That blasted Canadian Walmart strikes again with those leaks. But yeah, I mean, Rage 2, the game no one was really asking for, but it looks pretty cool, I guess. I don't know. I'm definitely, my interest is piqued. I played Rage 1, and I know you did as well. We were both pretty into that when it came out.
Mm-hmm. It makes me wonder, like, you bring up a really good point. No one was asking for Rage 2. It doesn't seem like Rage has a big cult following, even. And it makes me wonder, why would they come out with a Rage 2?
I've been reading into that, because that was my first reaction. Like, I was like, oh, cool, but I wasn't like, this is the game everyone's clamoring for. This is uncompletely, like, not 100%, like, I don't know facts into this at all. But I was reading that there is a Mad Max lawsuit that's going on. That's why they're not making another Mad Max movie right now. There's a lot of limbo with the licensing of Mad Max. Avalanche Studios created Mad Max, the open world video game that came out a couple years ago. So there are some people that were thinking they were making a Mad Max 2 and had a lot of assets already built out, and they can't use Mad Max, so they were wondering, maybe we just transfer this over and be like, hey, let's pair you up with ID and let's make Rage 2. Like I said, that's unfounded. I don't know if that's true, but it's kind of an interesting theory on why. It's a good theory. Because Mad Max was great. It's a solid game. It was really fun mechanics at it. The open world was great, which this gets me excited because I feel like Avalanche Studio locked down the open world, finding resources in a world to like build up your car. And then the ID Studios, they have the shooting, they have the gunplay down. Like Rage 1, I know you and I always talk about, that little boomerang slice thing that you could just throw and take people out was awesome. It was one of my favorite mechanics at the time.
Yeah, I remember playing that game. I don't remember much about Rage. We were just talking, and the only thing I do remember about the original Rage was that boomerang. And it looks, when I watched the trailer, I got a lot of Mad Max. Did you play the Mad Max game?
Yeah, I played it.
Okay, I played it too. Atrocious game.
See, I didn't mind it.
Really?
I thought it was fun. I liked it. It wasn't something where I was enjoying the cutscenes, but I think I really like the Mad Max setting, which, I mean, I think post-apocalyptic, I thought the car mechanics were good. It was a lot better than what was in Rage. I think what I didn't like about Rage was, well, the gunplay was great. That mechanic throwing, I did enjoy. Like, I don't remember anything about the story, but I remember going up, like, long bridges to go into these, like, gang hideouts that were pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember that, but story's unforgettable. Mm-hmm. There's not, the car mechanics were just, I was not interested in, and it was just this vast, brown, just kind of not exciting looking world. Every setting looked the same. The open world side of it, I thought, was one of the weakest parts of the game, so it does give me hope with Avalanche, giving their expertise on that side of the video game.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how I feel about it, because Mad Max was... to me, and watching that Rage 2, there was a lot of Mad Max-esque stuff going on, especially with the blurry effects on the camera that I absolutely did not like from that Mad Max game. I thought it was overdid, and it was just that grainy, like, blurry kind of, we're trying to be darker, that I don't know, I just didn't like it. I did not like anything about it. So, and to see that Rage 2 kind of took that, but Rage 2 also added a lot of color. I remember seeing in the gameplay footage, there was like you were shooting enemy who was floating in the air, and it looked like this blue...
Who got like shot out of a cannon or something
like
that?
This. No, it was a little bit after that where the guy's like floating and he's flipping and you're shooting and this like blue dust comes up from him. I thought that was a really nice effect. So seeing that mixed in with this Mad Max grainy camera kind of makes me excited because I want to see how they balance the two.
Yeah, no, and I think the color, like the usage of different like pinks and bright colors, I think was really important because, like I said, when you have an open world game like that, it's really boring if you feel like you're in like the Sierra deserts of Nevada and there's like no diversity in the actual like
those deserts
setting
are beautiful.
in the background.
Take that back.
They're beautiful.
You take that back.
But if I'm playing a video game for 40 hours, do I want to just look at the same desert background? But from the preview they have, like, it looked like a bog or swampy type area. It looked like there maybe been some snow, so it looks like they're changing things up. They're really taking what was boring about Rage 1, and I feel like they're making it a lot more approachable and just a lot more diverse in the setting, but at the end of the day, like, I would just rather have Borderlands 3.
I would much rather have Borderlands 3, and I remember loving Rage, but it was one of those games where I remember loving it at the time, but I can't tell you one thing that I loved about Rage, and that's, I think, a sad thing. Yeah,
I don't know if it has more to do also... If Rage came out, like a game like that, if I was at this point in my life, then it was like post when I was done with college, I had a bunch of free time and I could just sink hours into games. I have limited time to play video games now, and so I really don't think it's something, if Rage 1 came out, I would enjoy it nearly as much. I think I was more willing to put up with mediocre gameplay back at that point in time. Now I just have a limited amount of time I can play video games. I'm not going to sink a ton of hours into a game that's mediocre anymore.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And Rage came out in October 2011, so I think at my frame of mind right there, I was very happy.
Yeah, I mean, we graduated in May of 2011, so we were just, a few months off, maybe just starting some work and kind of coasting, not really having a ton of responsibility. So like I said, you could sink a ton of time. At that same point, I put so much time into Skyrim and stuff like that year, so...
Yeah, and that was a good year for games, too, so maybe that's why Rage kind of got swept under the rug, because I had so many other things that I was playing at that time, but... Either way, it looks exciting. It's coming out. When is it dropping?
I believe spring 2019 is the window right now. You never know with release, but Bethesda, I feel like they're pretty good about nailing in. They don't usually release stuff if they're not very confident in the release window. But thanks to Walmart Canada, who knows if they kind of had to jump the gun and announce it. So who knows if it gets moved eventually. But I'll definitely be looking forward to it. I have a feeling I'll put some time into it just based on the ridiculousness, and they have to compete against the Borderlands of the world, and people have different expectations with these type of shooters now, so I feel like with Bethesda behind it, ID Software, and you have Avalanche Studios, it's that right there is giving me enough where it's like, I'm going to follow this up until its release.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of marketing teams who kind of just... If something gets leaked, they don't take the, oh, this is bad, we hate you route, and they kind of like made a joke out of it, because I remember them tweeted right after that like Walmart cover, where they had just had the Rage 2, and it was like a bunch of circles, like this is wrong, the cover art looks like this, and then they come out like maybe 2 days later with the gameplay trailer. So props to this marketing team for kind of just jumping all over the leak and just making it fun. So I'm going to follow it closely. I'll see how it looks when we get extended gameplay. I want to see how the car gameplay looks, because like Collin said in Rage 1, there was a lot of extended stretches where you were just driving with nothing. It'd also be nice to see how many open world like mechanics they add to this game, because we are getting so many open world games in 2019. I think Days Gone was just pushed back to 2019. I think we also have Lara Croft is going to be releasing in late 2018. That's not going to be an open world game though? I think that's going to be more streamlined.
I mean, they kind of are from the what was the last Tomb Raider? Rise of the Tomb Raider?
I don't know. Yeah,
I think it was.
Yeah.
But that game, it was less open worldy, and it was more of like sectioned off, kind of more of a God of War approach, where you have an open world experience, but it's actually in different sections.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to it. We'll see how it ends up playing out, and I'm just hoping they can nail down, because even Borderlands doesn't do this great, the ability to have car combat, but the ability to jump out of your car right away and have meaningful combat go on. I want to be able to jump back and forth between the two and not have to do an hour of just car races and blowing up cars. That's just not the type of stuff in games I'm into.
Yeah, like that race in circles so you can get like upgrades to your car that makes it go a little bit faster. I don't want anything like that. I just want to. I hope it's not like a Batmobile Arkham Knight situation where every time getting behind the wheel and that Batmobile was just like, it felt like torture. It felt like literal torture.
And no spoilers, but kind of spoilers for Arkham Knight. If you haven't played it at this point,
you can spoil that game.
But it's like I never beat it. I never beat it because that last sequence of the Batmobile crap. Like I was just like, no, I'm not doing this. I was like, it was so difficult, unnecessarily difficult to beat just to get to the final sequence in Arkham. Arkham Knight. Yeah, that I was just like, I put it down. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go YouTube the ending of this game because this is just ridiculously hard just to make it hard for no apparent reason.
And I love those Batman games, and I had read somewhere that the ending was so good. So I actually played my way through that ending sequence, and I remember vividly like screaming at my television.
I've never been more frustrated by a video game in my life.
It was, and I was grown when that game came out, and I felt like I was reverting back to like 9-year-old.
Like breaking controllers all of a sudden.
About to break my TV because that was so frustrating, and the ending wasn't even that good.
Yeah, because if you go through and collect everything and get all the riddles from the Riddler and stuff like that, you can get an extended version. Like they're like, oh, you got to get the good ending, but to put all that time and get all the collectibles, I just can't.
And things that weren't fun. We're getting off track, but like, yeah, and that ending of that game, the 5-year-old game, was just not fun. So
no.
Hopefully Rage 2 can stay away from that, give me some good gameplay mechanics behind a car, because I don't know, there's not a lot of games that can pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy, I think Mad Max, the open world was pretty solid. I enjoyed the resource farming, so I hope they bring in kind of some resource side of things, but not overly, just to like deck out your car. Yeah, we'll go ahead and see, but hey, I trust Doom has some great shooting mechanics, and that team going ahead and putting, building upon what they did in Rage 1, because Rage 1, the shooting
was great,
and the actual throwing mechanic of that blade was good.
Those close quarter combats in Rage, I remember, was like a highlight of that game.
And I just hope Rage 1 was too serious, and it seems like they're taking more of the ridiculous approach, which is good, where it's like, it's a post-apocalyptic game where an asteroid blows up 80% of the world population. Like, this shouldn't be a dark and sinister story. Luckily, the tone of this trailer gives me hope that it's just going to be just insane. That's what I want.
It would have been a better story if everyone would have started taking steroids like you were going to go on that route, and 80% of the world died, and then you just have like maybe 20% of this world just being massive.
Maybe it started from a bunch of baseball athletes making everyone take steroids. They make it mandatory in all sports, and then the steroids end up ruining the world. We shouldn't talk too much. If we could write down this game, we should sell it to ID and Gearbox, or not Gearbox, ID and Avalanche Studios. So.
Rage 3, call us. So yeah, and it's, so we'll see. 2019, Rage 2, announced. E3's coming up. We'll see if any more of those leaks from the Walmart show up at E3, or if some of that was bullshit. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, but I'm excited. Hopefully there's some demos. Maybe Pat can get his hands on some Rage if there's a demo or something like that and give us some feedback. Who knows? Who knows what type of games he'll play once E3 rolls around.
Yeah, and speaking of Pat, I think he got his hands on Detroit Becoming Human. Is that the name? Becoming Human? Yeah, okay. I always mess up that name because it's stupid.
Or is it Become Human?
Become Human. But why would the androids want to become human if humans are there?
Human.
Why would they want to become human?
It's like, they want, Westworld stuff? They want rights.
Well, like, blacks were oppressed by whites. I don't want to become white. I think
they start becoming more aware, and so they want to be treated like humans and not like an iPhone.
Someone has a complexity issue. Anyway, he got his hands on Detroit Become Human, and he also got his hands on, I think, Kingdom Hearts 3. So check out the Hollywood Reporter. Pat, he's going to have articles about that pretty soon, I think.
Yeah,
we'll probably be talking about that soon.
And with E3 rolling around, like, you know, who knows what games will get announced, who knows what he'll be able to get his hands on with events, because there's a lot of events coming up before the E3, so stay on the lookout for Pat's Twitter and his articles on True Hollywood Reporter.
And since we're still on announcements, hot off the press, another game that was announced this week that I don't really care about, but Collin cares about, so we're finally going to talk about it in the podcast. I think we're in episode, 36, 37, in the high 30s, and we're finally talking about the worst video game series of all time. Collin, take it over.
As your resident bro of the group, talk a little Black Ops 4. I'm a little fatigued on Call of Duty. I'll still play it here and there, but this is a very interesting announcement. I guess the first focal point to go into would be no single player this year. So they scrapped it. I'm interested to find out more details on why, if they just decided, hey, let's eliminate it. My assumption is that they realize, hey, we're not going to have enough time to create a story in time for the release, because Call of Duty is historically, they always release on time. There's no pushback, so they have to hit that deadline. Also with it, I'm curious, with some of these multiplayer maps, they're usually based on the story, so I'm kind of intrigued to play it to kind of maybe piece together what angle they're going to go for, because Black Ops is all over the place. There's time travel, they've done Vietnam, they've gone all over the place. So I'm interested to see what sort of settings on the maps are to kind of piece together what the story could have been. But yeah, I guess they have their usual Call of Duty modes. It seems a little bit more objective focus. Sorry, I can't talk. And it's interesting because Black Ops 3 went the hero shooter route where you'd pick your loadout and you'd pick an actual character with different abilities. They're taking that to the next level where some characters don't even have grenades. It's going to a more Overwatch style where there's supply drops. You actually give health to your teammates. People have special abilities like Destiny. There's a grappling hook now, and it's more team-based.
Is this across all modes, or is this a mode? Is it hero-based mode, and do they have classic Call of Duty style? Because I can feel a lot of Call of Duty players wouldn't like that.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. How the traditional Call of Duty players react to it. So I believe it's across the board. I don't know about the Blackout mode, which is Blackout mode is their Battle Royale mode. Which I don't know if you'll have the same abilities. From what I hear, there's going to be a lot of crazy weapons scattered throughout the map. They said it's 1,500 times larger than the Nuketown multiplayer map. That's how big the map is for Blackout mode. And somehow there's going to be characters from old Black Ops games in it. So I don't know if you play them, it's like a skin, or if they're in the map and there's NPCs. There's also vehicles by air, sea, and land. Throughout it, so you can actually take helicopters, you can go in boats and stuff. So I'm really interested to see where they go with that Blackout mode.
And it's all going to be in first person. There's not going to be an ability to go in third person.
That I don't know. I'm assuming they're going to stick with the classic Call of Duty shooting. And I mean, everyone's going to be releasing a mode like this, so it's going to be interesting to see what people are starting to do their different take. GTA Online just released their kind of Battle Royale-esque mode that they're promoting right now, where you're on a giant hovering platform in the sky, and if you die, you go to a red zone where the platform's going to disappear after a certain point, so you and all the people who have died recently are racing to get back on the map. It's kind of like the blue zone in PUBG and Fortnite. But this is when you die, you go there. So it's not like but the platform slowly shrinks too. So everyone's doing their take on it. I'm really interested to see what Call of Duty does with it. And there's no wall running in this game. There's no speed boost, so it's on the ground shooting. But it has a lot of ridiculous abilities. I'm sure there'll be some score streaks or whatever, kill streaks that will be pretty crazy. But I'm very interested on how this game turns out, specifically with no single player. I think they can get away with it because they're also releasing Modern Warfare 2 single player only as a standalone game you can buy at the same time. No multiplayer on that, so I think they're basically cutting off the multiplayer aspect to be hey, play Call of Duty 4, but if you want that single player experience for $30 or whatever, how much it costs, you can buy Modern Warfare 2 remastered single player and play that.
Does that bother you as a Call of Duty fan that they're getting rid of the story mode?
Not at all. I don't play them very often.
You don't play the story mode.
I played I've played every single Call of Duty from Call of Duty 2 and beyond, minus Infinite Warfare. That was the one I didn't play because it was made by the same team that made Call of Duty Ghost, and that was the worst Call of Duty I've ever played. I like the early single-player games. Every year I would get a Call of Duty, I would tell myself after maybe Black Ops 1, I was like, I'm going to play the single-player, and I just wouldn't do it. I like the multiplayer. I just like diving in, because in my mind, when I'm playing a Call of Duty, I'm like, right when it comes out, if I get it, I'm like, oh, well, everyone else is going to upgrade and get their stuff if I spend time on the single-player.
Okay.
So it doesn't bug me. I'm curious how people react, though.
So I hate multiplayer experience. Most competitive multiplayer experience, as most people know. Do you like this trend of seeing that Call of Duty's getting rid of the single player and just fully giving you every type of game mode? Because it seems like Black Ops 2, or what is this, Black Ops 4 has every single type of game mode you can go into, like a Battle Royale mode.
And they'll still have Team Deathmatch. They're still going to have the classic modes.
And then wasn't there another mode you were talking about, like the Rainbow Six?
I'm hearing they may add in some very more tactical one life level. Because I'm trying to think which game this was. One of the earlier Modern Warfares, maybe 2 or 3, I got really into Search and Destroy mode, which is one life, trying to plant and defuse a bomb. It's a lot more strategic, and it's all about you're a little bit more camping, a little bit slower paced than the usual Call of Duty mode. So I'm curious if they build upon that, and I'm hearing they're basically taking inspiration from every multiplayer game that's popular. So I'm hearing they may take some elements from Siege. Maybe they have smaller map and it's like a search and destroy mode, but you can kind of break through walls and you can do different stuff based on the abilities of these heroes that you can choose throughout the game.
Interesting.
So, and yeah, I'm curious how they do it. Personally, I think they're eventually going to move to a Call of Duty platform where it's just like, you just buy Call of Duty. It's kind of, or maybe you don't buy it. Maybe it's free to play. They go to a Fortnite route. In my opinion, I doubt we see a Fortnite 2 for a long time because Epic Games can just keep releasing new modes. So what if Activision just decides, hey, they have the Call of Duty platform. Every year these studios release their content updates and maybe you can buy stuff a la carte. Maybe eventually that's how they bring back single player, but they offer it for $20 or $15 and then the multiplayer experience is $45 or maybe even $60. They may still charge full price. Mm-hmm. But I would be interested to see if they just keep it all in one running thing. They keep track of your stats across the board, but then also specifically in each individual game.
All right. How do you convince a shareholder that this is a way to go rather than seeing the every year release of $60?
Easy.
Knowing that you're going to get that game, knowing that you're going to get billions of dollars once every year from that $60 purchase.
Well, I think there's a lot of easy sells, especially when it comes to shareholders. They aren't true gamers for the most part, so they just want to hear about the bells and whistles. So I think what you tell them, you're not paying this way, you're doing less actual physical distribution, so you're not paying for physical CDs, you're not paying for the actual cases for them, you're not dealing with shipping of the games. Maybe the first time around you do it, but my assumption would be it'd be a downloadable platform, just like you can't go into a GameStop and buy Fortnite. You just download it.
Right.
So I think that's a sell. I think also removing single player and putting the focus on more of that just non-stop game as a service, you're more likely to people invest money into it when it comes to buying cosmetics, buying different stuff. And if it's a la carte, when there's new stuff that comes out, I think it's easier for someone sitting on their couch at night after a long day of work just to hit the X button and pay $20 compared to having to go, maybe they go to Best Buy and go buy something. So it's the purchasing power of people. It's a lot easier to pull the trigger when it's on a digital distribution compared to physical.
I think that's interesting in regards to that changes the whole gaming industry as a whole, because it seems like if you have a multiplayer game, why would you not take that route? Because you're still making, I don't know, you might be, I don't know how much money Fortnite is making. I feel like it's doing very well with cosmetics. Just personal accounts, like my students, all of them are paying for skins. All of them are talking about the John Wick skin that they paid for. All of them are talking about the multiple skins that they have paid for or they have unlocked. So it'd be interesting to see because for the most part, Call of Duty players are high schoolers, people in their early 20s. If they're willing, if they have the income to spend on cosmetics, spend on guns out, they're probably going to put in the game to make you play better.
Yeah, when I think too, it would really be interesting if Activision eventually moves Call of Duty to a free platform. And like I said, if you make the platform free and you can download it, you're downloading all the information and gigs for all of the content. But it's not unlocked. So all it takes is someone to just be like, yes, I want this, pay $5. And I think if you go free to play, it's psychological where people are more willing to just put $5 into it. I do that myself sometimes, and I'm looking at Fortnite. I was reading a report, and this is back from April, but April 18th, according to Forbes, they're saying Fortnite is making $1 million a day on mobile alone. Mobile, just mobile, because that's most kids are playing on mobile. And I'm telling you, like, if people are able to spend $1 or $2, or maybe they get a starter pack where it's $4.99 and you get a skin, you get like a new parachute in Fortnite, people buy that, and they don't feel bad about it. And also, the cool thing is, someone can spend $5 now, but if they're continually playing, the likelihood of them spending money on that again is just through the roof.
I wonder how much of that also goes through like Twitch sponsorship, like Twitch. I don't know how this works. I don't know if like Twitch is like partnered with Fortnite or in some ways.
I think Epic Games is partnered with certain streamers.
Okay.
I think that's
how they do that way. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why you'll see a lot of like random games all of a sudden that they're in trial. They'll be like, oh, everyone's playing this game on Twitch, and you'll be like, oh, I've never heard of this game, and all of a sudden, like, what was the game? It was SOS. Which was a really interesting looking game, and fun. On PC it looks fun.
It looked fun.
But when it was in its first like alpha release, it was all the most popular streamers were playing. I'm like, oh, they must really like it. And then I look into it, I'm like, oh no, they're just getting paid.
They got paid.
They're getting paid.
Right.
And so it's really interesting to see Call of Duty already has the name. People are already going to play it. I think it would be smart of them to try to move to a platform, get more of these kids in that can play for free, and see what happens. Also,
how do you get kids to play a mature game?
I don't think that's going to stop kids from downloading it, though.
That is true. That's true.
But that is one of Fortnite's blessings, I think, and what has set Fortnite aside from PUBG is, one, it's super accessible, it's free to play, and it's cartoony.
And how do you get past those parental controls, though? Because maybe in a perfect world, you think that these parents would go into their PlayStation and their Xbox and set up parental controls so that a kid can't go in and buy what mature games are free to download right now? I can't. Warframe. Is Warframe mature?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know about that. I had to look that up. But you would think that parents would go into and set up these type of parental controls so that a kid can't go and download a rated M game from like the PlayStation Store or from the Xbox Live Store. So you lose that massive appeal. Yeah. Just like I went to Deadpool 2 yesterday at a 345 showing. If that was Infinity War, it would have been packed because it's a PG-13 rating, but because it was rated R, the movie didn't have a lot of people.
Which is why we'll never see a rated R Avengers movie.
Exactly.
Like, it's never going to happen.
But the same thing with will you lose money if you're doing it that way?
I think Call of Duty it makes so much money where it wouldn't make a difference. I think regardless, you're going to have your loyal base that's going to pay that $60 every year. So why not try to tap into that free market? I personally think that would be a good move, but then again, there may be Activision has literally probably a whole floor in a business office of people just crunching numbers and looking into the data analytics of like, what if they moved to free to play? How many people would they lose or how many people would not spend that $60 because it's free all of a sudden because they have that experience? And eventually, if they do move to it, it would be very justified. Like they are putting in the time to research this because Epic Games is making a disgusting amount of money every single day, and other people are going to want to do that. Like Battle Royale, the craze there with all these publishers wanting to jump in, it's not about like, oh, we're excited about this mode or we think this is changing video games. They're just like, oh, they're making a crap load of money, and I want that. I want a slice of that pie.
And it's interesting because I don't think we'll ever get a Fortnite 2. So
exactly.
And it seems like rather than dropping a game every year, like you said, like a Call of Duty releasing a physical copy every year of the game, that's essentially the same since Modern Warfare 2, in my opinion.
Yeah.
People can argue with me about that. Because what are the highlights of Call of Duty? Modern Warfare 2 and like Black Ops 2?
Well, Modern Warfare 1 is
Modern Warfare
and then
1.
Modern Warfare 2 is highly regarded. Black Ops 1 still has... Black Ops 1 and 2 both still have like a super active community.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think if there's any other like hits. I mean, I do enjoy World War II.
But they've essentially been the same, except for the time period and the wall jumping and all that nonsense. It's essentially the same, so it does make sense to release it as a free platform, release updates every year for it,
Do
maybe
seasons.
release time, seasons, maybe release time events where like you can do wall jumping throughout this like October through November time season, and then have like some type of skin that you can get for kills.
Well, and just imagine with Activision, with all their connections and all their properties they have, you can also integrate random stuff. Like, you know, if you are a active Destiny player, like what if you get like a Destiny skin, or like you get it turns one of your assault rifles into looking like a Destiny gun. Like you could do crossover. Yeah, also, like I think there's a lot of cool opportunity with timed events, like what Fortnite did with the Infinity Gauntlet and having Thanos be a character. And it was just 1 week they did it, and people were loving it and saying it was so cool. And it was funny seeing like Thanos do all like the Fortnite dances and stuff like that and like videos. And
they even had Josh Brolin talk about it on a couple interviews.
He's like, "Oh, this is cool."
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get me playing Fortnite, but yeah, it's a fun thing to do. And it'd be interesting. I mean, this is all speculation right now. It's not like any of these companies have announced that they're going to go this route.
I'm slowly becoming more of a free-to-play fan. I think it can be gross sometimes, but working, like, I worked at an after-school program recently, and seeing some kids that I don't know for a fact, but I don't think they come from a very financially, like, rolling in the dough type family situation, and all these kids have access to the game. And when I was a kid, I feel like it was a barrier where I felt you could feel bad for those kids on the playground that didn't have the new Star Wars toy, that didn't have the new Pokemon game or cards, because it cost a lot of money to invest, and we were lucky enough where our parents shelled out money so we could have the hot new toy or game. And it's really cool. All these kids need is a mobile phone. They can play on mobile phone with their friend that does have the PS4, and I think that's really cool. And I think there's something just very I feel like it's great that we're giving access to these games where kids that aren't financially well off and can invest all that money are able to play and be a part of the conversation. I think that's really cool.
Jumping off of that, I work in schools where kids don't have a lot of means where they can go out and buy $60 games and stuff like that, and it's fun to see kids really connect. It's annoying and it's fun at the same time to see kids from all of the middle school girl to like the senior in high school kind of all be able to have a conversation where they're not like jumping on each other, they're not being mean to each other, they're just collaboratively talking like strategy about Fortnite. And that's very interesting for me to see, because it seems like everyone under the age of 30 has this game and is playing it to some extent. I have it downloaded. I've only put like 2 hours into it because I think I can't get behind it. But it seems like everyone has this game, so it's universal. So it would be interesting to see these Call of Duties. I don't see EA doing this. I just don't see EA doing this.
Actually, picture this though. I think if EA was going to get onto the Battle Royale scene, what if they created because Fortnite started off as a actual pay-to-play game and eventually was going to go to free-to-play. Mm-hmm. It was whatever the storm mode it is or whatever, where it's like horde mode. Then they decided they copied PUBG and they're like, oh, let's make this, and then they created a separate free-to-play platform. What if EA did that with Battlefront 2, where they still had their game for Battlefront for Star Wars, but then they came out with a free-to-play just Battle Royale mode that people could download and you could play, and they're super, and you could go wander around in multiplayer, how you can just randomly be a Luke Skywalker or something. It'd be kind of cool if you could play with the Star Wars universe.
I think that would be interesting, and it would be interesting to see if companies like that could do something like. But it makes me think like Battlefront could get away with it. Battlefield could probably get away with it. Destiny could definitely get away with it. So we have big shooters like that. What does this do for like the Titanfalls? And what does this do for like those not shorter, but those smaller shooters that aren't necessarily as big, but have like a small. Cause I loved Titanfall. Out of all of the competitive multiplayers, I think Titanfall is my favorite of all of them. I've always liked Titanfall. Whenever Titanfall drops, I always put 100 hours into that game. Yep. I'm not the best, but I'm also always decent at Titanfall. What does that do? Because Titanfall can't do this. I don't think Titanfall can sustain a heavy like audience like this to keep it going. So what does that do for those multiplayer? And does it like eliminate the chance for those, if we do go in this route, does it eliminate the chance of those Titanfall 3s, Titanfall 4s to be competitive?
Yeah, I don't know. I struggle with this because I really do think that Titanfall, I love Titanfall, by the way, so you're just getting me thinking about Titanfall 2. Also, shout out, I don't play Call of Duty campaigns. Titanfall 2 campaign is fantastic, so gotta shout that out.
It was.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder, is this Battle Royale craze gonna stick? Or, like, in meaning fully, like, games that are just focused on that come out? I think it's going to be more and more over time where it's a part of an ecosystem of an entire game, just like Black Ops is doing. There's rumors Red Dead's going to have a Battle Royale mode, and I'm sure it's just going to be a GTA, like a Red Dead Online mode that you can just jump in and play. So I think it's just like back in the day when, I don't know if it was Quake or whoever started Deathmatch and Team Deathmatch, that was the only mode, and then now it's in every single game. It's just like everyone has Team Deathmatch, and I know at the beginning, I'm sure whoever copied Team Deathmatch in their game at that time, those studios were probably like, oh, how dare you do that, just like how you're having controversy now. But it's just like, no, it's just a game mode in multiplayer. You can add into your game.
And I'm thinking of like, Battle Royale's here to stay. I think we're gonna it's gonna be another game mode. Just like you said, I completely agree with everything. But I'm thinking of like, if Call of Duty, like we're talking about, moves into this free to play format, could a Titanfall move into a free to play format because it won't have the audience like Overwatch, for example. Will we see an Overwatch 2? Because it's like they have a hardcore audience that are still the active audience that's still playing Overwatch. They're coming out with these seasonal updates. It seems like it can sustain itself for a long time. Titanfall 2, and I'm just using Titanfall because it's the only other multiplayer I could think about. Titanfall 2 has to come out with a Titanfall 3 where they're adding different mechs, different things, and I don't think they can sustain themselves in a free-to-play model. So if these games do move to a free-to-play move, and this is all speculation by the way, into a free-to-play model, do we still have a competitive market for multiplayer games?
Yeah, so I don't know. I think there is room for a lot of games to jump into the free-to-play. It's tough with Titanfall 2 just because it was such a great game to me, but also it got buried in the release window having Battlefield 1 come out the week before it, and that's an EA published game, and they cannibalized their own like shooter market, and then Call of Duty came out the week after. So it was sandwiched in between. It didn't have the chance to really flourish, but I wonder if it would have came out at a different time, if it would have a bigger following, maybe it would be able to translate over. I don't know. I don't think every game is going to move to free-to-play because studios are going to be realistic in realizing what the player count should be for a game, and if they know it's going to be off the charts, free-to-play is pretty solid because you can put in cosmetics and items like that. Titanfall, I just don't know if it has the recognition to really get there and to do it where it would make sense. It could do it, but I just don't know if free-to-play would make sense for a game like that.
So if we go into a Fortnite-style free-to-play model where you'd have to have a big enough name to sustain it, is what you're saying. So like it has to be Star Wars where you can come out with like a Princess Leia costume and people will pay money for it.
Yeah, and I think, well, specifically, I'm talking console because I'm a console gamer. I think PC, you have a little bit more flexibility to make a more unique, brand new title. Like when Fortnite went down and everyone jumped to Radical Heights, like that was what people did.
No, Radical Heights,
and now it's gone. Now it's gone,
and
it didn't sustain it. So, and that was because Fortnite servers were down, and as soon as they went back up, people jumped back.
Yeah.
So I think you have that option, but it's gonna be interesting to see what companies do because Fortnite originally wasn't a free to play game. It was Eye of the Storm or whatever it is. You pay $40 and you get in, and they said we'll eventually move to free to play, but to be like an early founder. But then they're like, oh, let's copy PUBG. Let's jump into the Battle Royale market. They made it free to play, and it's everywhere now.
Yeah, it's interesting. It just makes me nervous because. And I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense to me. I think that's why I'm spending so much time asking you these questions, because it does make sense for a company to say, hey, let's get rid of these physical copies, like I said earlier, and let's do like a cheaper but more sustainable way where we're just free-to-play model. It just makes me nervous to see if these smaller Titanfall 2 type studios, Splatoon is completely different because Splatoon is on Nintendo, but will we still be able to see more competitive shooters come up, like a Radical Heights, like something else where it didn't have a big following, but could it still be competitive in the multiplayer market? Or will we just see a complete take over from Battlefront? Will it just be like a Battlefront, Battlefield, Call of Duty only? Like those are your only competitive multiplayer games to like come out with?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's gonna be more and more I think about it. Titanfall could be a free to play just because their DLC, what they did in Titanfall 2, was all cosmetic. It was anything you paid for. It was just like Titan and gun in your actual pilot like weapon skins and stuff. You weren't paying for actual like content stuff. But what if they did go, hey, we're gonna have a free to play. You start off with, there's only 2 Titans you can pick from, but you can buy a starter pack for $15 and you unlock all the Titans, or you unlock some of them, or you could just buy a la carte where it's like $3.99 or $5.99 because I want the Ronin Titan. That's the one I used to just destroy with Shadow, by the way. So I don't know. They could do it. I don't know if it would make sense for them, but it's tough for me to get a grasp on Titanfall 2 because I know how amazing of a game it is, and I feel like not a lot of people know because it was buried. It was just not.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And hopefully EA doesn't cannibalize them again when they come out with Titanfall 3 and I don't think they will. I think they've learned their lesson and they're a little bit smarter on actual release dates and stuff because they've just have had too much backlash recently. And now that they own Respawn Studio, they bought them out recently, so they used to just be the publisher. So I hope they don't do that. Because Titanfall is a special game. I really like it.
It's a very underrated game. I think it's underrated. It just didn't get a lot of. It was my multiplayer game of the year that year. It just didn't get a lot of publicity because, like Collin said, it was sandwiched between 2 of the alpha dogs of the industry with Call of Duty and Battlefield.
And Battlefield 1 came out the week before, and that game had so much hype because people were not expecting the move to World War I to pay off so well, and it was a great game.
And critically, that game was like raved about.
Oh, yeah. So. No, I really enjoyed it. It was good. So, and also you have to think about Titanfall 1 never made it to PlayStation. It was an Xbox One exclusive. So you also have that where people, like... There's a reason why a lot of times video game publishers are afraid to put a number on a game because there's people that are automatically going to see that, PlayStation owners, and be like, Titanfall 2, I never played 1. Like, I'm not going to get this. Even though it's mainly a multiplayer game, even though the single player is amazing, but it's going to block people automatically, especially when you put like 0 or something like that. Like people get weirded out and they're just like, well, I haven't played that, so I'm not going to even jump into it.
Interesting.
So I bet you money, now that they've had a lot of people, they may go Titanfall 3, but I wouldn't be surprised if they went like Titanfall Ascension or just some stupid lame name instead of doing.
Ascension. That's not a lame name. That's a really good name.
I don't know.
That's a really good name, Collin.
When you need to go back and play the single player because
I didn't beat it. No,
you have to beat it. A game has never handled time travel as well as Titanfall 2. Time travel and switching between times.
I like time travel games.
Yeah,
but I gotta ask you this because earlier you said you don't mind Black Ops 2 getting rid of its single player. Does this make you nervous if multiplayer go in this route? We won't get any more single player modes in a multiplayer game. So does that make you nervous for the next Titanfall?
No, not really. I think the single player was so critically acclaimed in Titanfall 2 where I think they know that's their bread and butter. People like the online mode was amazing, but like I said, I don't play single player in Call of Duty, but Titanfall 2, it made me care about a Titan. Like the Titan you're paired with is funny. It's super like almost like the robot humor of like Star Wars movies where they have a personality but they're still a robot and don't understand human emotion and stuff. But I genuinely cared about that.
There's some androids in Detroit becoming human that would be very upset with you talking like about robots like this.
Yeah, they would be.
They are not extensions of your humor, Collin. They are fully fledged beings that are sentient to an extent, so you need to start respecting them.
Yeah, I better be careful because this podcast may be brought up in the future in year 3000. They're like, oh, look at this robot bigot.
Well, we're all in robot camps for our 10-hour work days. They're gonna bring this out.
It's all my fault. It's all my fault, actually. I'm gonna start the robot apocalypse. Skynet is listening, and I apologize in advance. But I'm sorry. But it's Titanfall 2 campaign. I recommend you go back and play. It's not that long, and they do the best mechanics of switching between time is a mechanic of the game. Like, you are in control of switching between different times in the same zone. That's like a way of saying it without being too spoilery. It's been out for several years, so I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah,
but
I might go back.
And that doesn't give away how it actually looks. The way that you jump between time is actually something you hit on a controller, and it delves into the story. So it's all part of the story, and you'll be in a factory. And you'll be there in the past, and there's a bunch of workers and stuff going around, and then you'll switch over, and it'll be decimated and on fire, and there's cool. Titans everywhere. So all of a sudden, when you switch over, you may not know there may be a Titan right in your face that's going to fight you, and it's really, really cool.
We're talking about Titanfall 2 3 years later.
I mean, that's today's. We've talked about a lot of
older games,
and we may even talk about another old game.
I feel like
2016 is we're hitting a lot of 2016.
We are, yeah. I feel like time travel is the new zombies. I feel like every 2 years, everything had a zombie component. I feel like everything had a time travel component. Like everything popular had a time travel. Even Deadpool 2, time travel. Like everything had time travel now.
It's I don't know. I mean, you can do a lot of interesting mechanics with it. I don't know. I've never seen it handled in a video game like Titanfall did, and it's something special. Like, I had a coworker at my previous job that he was a little slower to play single player, and I remember I was playing a lot of multiplayer, and he forced me. He's like, no. He's like, when he found out where I was maybe a third into the campaign, he's like, once you get to the halfway point and you start seeing, he's like, no, play. And he would bug me every day, and I finally did, and I was like, thank you. I was like, thank you for making me play this, because once I get hooked into multiplayer, I want to rank up. It's the addiction side of things. Getting all the flashing upgrades and ranking and leveling up is really cool.
You have a problem, dude. No problem.
No, there's a reason why they can pump out these Call of Duties every year, and there's a reason why Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 was so popular, and every shooter has copied it. They took the ranking of MMOs that's addictive and ranking up continuously. Like, no matter what you do, you're always progressing. That's what keeps people playing.
You're always getting stuff to ching, 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 ching.
I love it. When I play Call of Duty, the feeling in my lizard brain that turns on when all of a sudden it's just like, you got this grenade kill, and it's just pop up.
The noise effects,
It's satisfying, and it's definitely dangling the carrot to keep playing. Because they absolutely could just come out with, like they did in the old days, and it was just like, you just keep playing multiplayer and you just want to be high on the leaderboard. You wanted to have the most kills in that game, but they weren't tracking stats or anything. And to keep people playing these games now, it's like, oh, we're just gonna have you rank up no matter what you do. Oh, you beat all the ranks? No prestige. They dangle the carrot.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's interesting to see where the state of multiplayer games is going to go, especially with the way Fortnite's taken off and the way all these games are being released that have a Battle Royale mode. Seems like we talked about, Black Ops 2 is giving you a little bit of everything, getting way of single player.
You mean Black Ops 4?
Black Ops 4. Why do I keep saying Black Ops 2? That's when I stopped playing Black Ops.
Because that's the
last Call of Duty I bought.
Well, and Black Ops 2 is also it's the one people.
Okay.
It's definitely one people really... Yeah, we already spoke, but it's definitely what people love to play. And there's still, even within the last hour, Steam charts, there's 1,800 people on Steam playing Black Ops 2. And that is... It's an old game.
Yeah, I need a time travel. Speaking of time travel, I need to time travel back away from this conversation because we've been talking about
Call of
Duty. I'm getting a headache. But, speaking of time traveling, we're going back to the year 2016, and we're going to talk about the hottest game of 2016, biggest disappointment, No Man's Sky. I don't think we touched on it last week, but it was announced this week that it is coming out in July for Xbox, and it will be releasing a multiplayer mode. And it sounds like the multiplayer mode is going to have everything that people wanted originally.
What we were kind of sold on.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that E3 demo sold us on it. So I was excited for No Man's Sky when it came out. I wasn't as pissed off as everyone else was about the lack of, basically the false promises that they made. But it seems like over the last 2 years of development, they have made significant strides to right their wrongs. On one hand, as everyone knows, I'm the resident nihilist of the group. I'm the resident pessimist. I'm not positive about anything. But I want to commend Sean Marie and the No Man's Sky team for actually going back and making a lot of updates and making a lot of changes, additions to this game to not exactly get to where you promised us, but getting us a lot closer to that point. I don't know how you feel about that, Collin.
Yeah, I mean, No Man's Sky is an interesting game. I got it. I was super into the hype building up to the release. I was disappointed in a sense because I was more of hoping what this July update would be, but I didn't realize what I liked about the game the most. I thought it was like, oh, I'm going to go connect with other people playing. It's going to be super cool. We can build bases. That wasn't the case, but it ended up being a really nice like therapeutic game where after work I could put on a podcast. It has mellow music and just like mine for minerals and just kind of zone out. Yeah, it was a nice mindless game.
It was. And according to Kotaku, the No Man's Sky multiplayer big update of 2018 will be launching on July 24th. Here are some details that Kotaku reports in their their article that was released this week. Hello Games describes it as you being able to explore infinite universes with your friends or bump into random travelers. Speaking of time traveling, infinite universes, parallel universes used to be a very hot topic right now. Yep. You get to voyage together, friends will help you stay alive, or you can prey on others to survive, so it sounds like you might be some PvP components added to this game, which is kind of exciting. Build bases from tiny shelters to complex colonies that you can create as a team that can be seen by the community, so a little Minecraft stuff going on. You can be a pirate or a wingman in epic space battles with friends or foes. I wonder if there's some type of, if I destroy your vessel, could I pick up like components that I can add to make my thing better? So that's kind of interesting. And then racing, which is stupid.
Yeah.
So
is this enough to get you back into it?
Yeah, I think so. I picked it up a couple months ago because it did add like a story component to the game, and it did add like a mission component where you go to a planet, you get a mission, you go back. And it was very enjoyable. I put like a couple hours. I might go back and play it this afternoon. I'm getting back into older games now that I have my catalog. I'm trying to like clear up a catalog. So I might go back and test it out a little bit this afternoon to see what it's like. But yeah, I think this is enough to get me back into it because I just want to see from what it came out to in 2016 to now. I think I want to see like the overall progression of what happened. And for me, I think we see more of it in games. We see it with Destiny, with the Taken King update. We saw it with, I think, Conan Exiles to a certain extent. When Conan Exiles was released in early access a couple years ago, it was a bare bones experience to the point now where it is the number one game on Steam right now and the number one game on PlayStation Store. So it seems like it added a lot more. What other games have done this in the recent? Can you help me out here? What other games have done this recently? Where they come out with like not a bare bones experience, but an experience that wasn't really up to par with what the audience wanted.
I mean, I've definitely. I mean, you brought up Destiny. It's mainly like games as a service that come up to me. The Division, which I put a lot of time into originally, like OG Division, which I had a blast. Like I like the Division. Like I know it has a lot of flaws, and there's the end game. I was just like, why am I putting time into this? It's kind of, I've had similar feelings with Destiny. I'm like, why am I investing all this time just to get gear I don't care about?
Yeah.
But when I went back and played Division maybe a couple months ago, they have smoothed out everything. The gear makes sense now, and the player base isn't there, but it gives me promise for Division 2, where I'm like, I think they may have figured things out. We'll see. Just because I thought the same with Destiny 2, and Destiny 2's alright. It's alright. It's not bad. It's not amazing, but I don't know. This game, I don't think I'm going to jump into it right at the July release, depending on what I'm playing at the time. You never know. I may be in a lull and be like, all right, I'm going to play this, but I do have concerns. What is it going to be like? Is it just going to be... I have a feeling you're not going to bump into random people too often, and when you do, is it going to be something where you can just wave and say, hi, can you just openly attack people? Is it going to be like Sea of Thieves, where you're going to have all these bored people that have already got everything they want, and they just go and ruin other people's games and just spawn kill you over and over again? Like, how are they going to balance that? Or are they going to do, like, certain galaxies are PvP, some are PvE, and kind of all over the place? So I don't know. I'm definitely going to be paying attention as the build-up to see what more information they release, but even though they're releasing on Xbox, as a PlayStation owner of this game, I do, contrary to what our resident negative person on game updates, Patrick Shanley, he would be here yelling about just release the game in its final form right away. He'd be so upset. I think they overpromised, they underdelivered, but instead of charging people for all this DLC, they've just been continually giving free updates, which makes me wonder how are they going to stay in business over time.
Right,
They really are probably banking on the Xbox release, but also is there a huge Xbox community really wanting to play this?
I think so, because what do you have to play on Xbox right now?
That's true.
And you made a very, 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 very good point. No Man's Sky has no loot boxes. No Man's Sky didn't have any cosmetic items. No Man's Sky isn't charging you for this DLC, whereas Destiny, The Division, Conan, like all these other games have charged you for. I'm sorry, Conan Exiles did not charge you for anything with the early access release, which is completely different. But yeah, they charge you for these things in order to give you the new game. No Man's Sky is essentially not doing that. They're giving you these free updates as like a way of saying, hey, look, we messed up. We're sorry. We know we promised you this thing. We know it's 2 years later, but we're still trying. And like going back to your question, I think Microsoft does have an audience for this because there's nothing to play on Microsoft right now. I think the only release that they had this year is Sea of Thieves, and State of Decay 2 is not performing well at all.
Yeah.
It's not out yet, but the critics are not saying very nice things about State of Decay 2. I think that you have a lot of early access games that are being leaked over the Xbox Live that are survival, so like The Longest Dark is over there, Subnautica's over there. You have Ark Survivals over on Xbox, so you have a lot of these big survival games that I think the audience is already on Xbox, so I think they might gravitate towards No Man's Sky. And I think that you have a Sea of Thieves has kind of like a parallel to it. I think that a lot of Sea of Thieves is in No Man's Sky in regards of like the exploration and regards of like the collecting items to make yourself better, building up yourself. So I believe in my hearts of hearts, I believe that No Man's Sky will do fairly well on Xbox, and I think that true gamers are following the development cycle. I think they've seen that No Man's Sky has corrected a lot of their wrongs. They have a story mode. They went through and fixed all the bugs that they have. The planets aren't all the same. The planets are very diverse from when I went into a couple months ago to check out. So you know, they've made a lot of significant strides, and I think a lot of Xbox players haven't played it before.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them don't have a PC or have a PlayStation 4. And like I said, there's nothing on Xbox right now, so why not jump in? I think you have State of Decay, and I think you have No Man's Sky. Those are two vastly different games, and this is coming out in July. And I don't think we're getting any summer releases for the Microsoft.
No, I think it's the perfect storm for Hello Games because they are able to promote it on Xbox. I'm assuming, and I don't know anything, but I'm assuming they'll probably get some Xbox stage time at E3 for this because Xbox doesn't have any games that we're aware of right now.
No.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they get some time there, and it's the landscape of Xbox exclusives that may be a benefit, and maybe this is something that Hello Games has just seen, and they're like, hey, we can really capitalize on the Xbox like barren landscape of exclusives. Let's just jump into Xbox and try to get some money that way. Just because I don't know the finances of Hello Games, but supporting a game for free for 2 years, like, how sustainable is that? Right. So they have to get some sales through Xbox.
You're right, and hopefully we'll see people support it because I am interested to see what they can do with the next game.
And I definitely hope. I of course was frustrated with the post-release. Just my expectations were too high for it. So I'm hoping that they're able to right the ship and really create something that's immersive and also fun to play with other people because it was just a lonely game.
Yeah, and I think we need to remember what happened after they released this game. They went dark. Like you remember, I don't know if you remember, but
Sean Murray just disappeared.
And he was everywhere before the game. Like you would see him tweet constantly. You would see things from No Man's Sky constantly.
He was
press
doing
releases all the
left
time.
and right.
This game came out. Critics hated it. Players hated it. And they went completely silent, and it was kind of like I think there were people in the industry that thought we got bamboozled, that we were sold a false promise. They released a bare bones game, and they took off. They got our money and took off, because that game did very well. But I think what happened was they went dark because they went back to work on this game. They felt bad about what happened. They felt bad about the reception, and they went back and they worked on it. They come out 5 months later, 6 months later, saying sorry for this, but we're going to come out with some updates over this not next 2 years, but we're going to come out with some updates over the future to right our wrongs. So I commend them for that. I really do, because I don't think a lot of studios do that. Look at Battlefront. It's a perfect example. Battlefront released a terribly bare bones experience. And what did they do? They gave us a Battlefront 2 that basically did the same exact thing, but added loot boxes to it. So, in those regards, I think we should really, 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 really commend No Man's Sky and Sean Murray for what they did. Hello Games and everything for what they've done.
Yeah, I can only imagine what their team meeting was like. Because, the day after the reviews, like the day of release when all the reviews were coming out, like that couldn't have been fun. No. So props to them for hanging in there, but we'll see. I'm gonna rear in my expectations this time around. I don't see myself sinking a ton of time in, but I've already invested in the game, and it would be fun to go back and see it be a little bit more of what I was anticipating back in 2016.
Right. And Microsoft needs it. I mean, like we say it all the time, I don't want Microsoft to fail. I'm not a fanboy. I have all 3 systems. I believe competition brings out the best in all systems. That's why we're seeing so many good games come out from Sony and Nintendo right now, because they're in the heat of it. I think Xbox is doing a lot of good stuff with their software. I think I've said that before. Like, they just came out with a very, very wonderful, all-accessible controller. I don't know if you've seen that, where it seems like a lot of people with disabilities, they can bring into the table to play their games, because this controller has so many options for anyone to play. And I love that, because I don't think we get a lot of focus on people with disabilities who can play these types of games. So Microsoft does the and also the Game Pass. Like, they have a lot of good ideas, but I just don't think they have the games to back it. So I hope No Man's Sky can do something for them, because it doesn't seem like State of Decay 2 is going to do it.
We'll see what their E3 presence is like, because I could see them on stage having a couple exclusives, or personally, what I believe they're going to go the route where they're going to pay to a lot of big games have they'll advertise with the PlayStation or Xbox logo. It's not exclusive, but it'll be we're partnering with them to promote. I could see them doing that for the potential Avengers game that's coming out. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of games where I don't know if they'll be exclusive, but they're gonna just throw monies at studios and be like, hey, just show your stuff on our stage. Because what do they have going for them right now?
I just don't know. I don't
Hopefully they have stuff up their sleeve. I hope, because they came out and they said this is they're going to have the biggest announcements they've ever had at E3.
Oh, this one? Is that what they said?
I mean, I think they say that every year.
Okay. Hopefully Scalebound's back on the plate.
I don't know if that's going to be revived. I know zombie games are popular.
Yeah. But, Scalebound wasn't a zombie game. It was
No, I meant making the game would be a zombie because it's dead.
That's true. Like a zombie. Yeah, well, we'll see.
Bring it back to life.
We talk about Microsoft all the time now. I don't want to get into it. And we're running late. So, yes. So, No Man's Sky, July 24th, releasing multiplayer on Xbox. We'll see how that goes. And I wanted to talk about not No Man's Sky. We already talked about No Man's Sky. I wanted to talk about State of Decay 2. Doesn't look like we can have enough time to get into State of Decay 2. It does release this Tuesday. I will be picking it up. I will have gameplay impressions if we record next week. Hopefully we do record next week. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. Like we talked about earlier, Pat has been getting his hands on a lot of games. He's been invited to a lot of press releases. We're going to do some pre-E3 stuff, because Pat is also going to E3 this year. So keep listening. Stay tuned. We have some exciting stuff coming for you. Did we miss anything?
No, not really.
No,
I think it's just right now I feel like the post God of War lull kind of now. Just I've been personally just playing some Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze.
Yeah.
Playing some Funky Mode, just super easy, just playing for 5 minutes at a time on my Switch, and just jumping back into Red Dead Redemption. I feel like right now is the perfect time to play through Red Dead, beat it before June or so, end of June, slowly play it, give myself a few months to have that buffer, but I'll still have the memory of Red Dead, and I can jump into Red Dead 2.
Yeah. I'm been doing this for the last, couple of months. I've been slowly playing Red Dead. I play a mission a day, or a mission every weekend, just to get myself familiar with the story and everything. So, also been playing Tropical Freeze. It's a fun game. It's not $60 fun, but it's a fun game. It's another 2D platformer. So if you like 2D platformers, get ready to play another one. The music is fantastic in the game, though, and it does look beautiful.
It's a pretty game. In handheld mode, it's great. I love just being able to pick it up for a few minutes. It's cool. I don't know. I'll probably slowly beat it. I'm on the second island. I'm not very far, but it's thank God for Funky Mode, because I don't have the time in my life to play it on normal, because apparently it's pretty challenging game.
Yeah, I started on normal and kept dying, and was like, let me go back and redo this in Funky Mode. So yeah, it's fun. It's not $60 fun. I'll stay by that. If it was $40, I would be raving about this game, but it is a lot of fun. And Nintendo Switch keeps pulling out games for the Wii U to put out, and people like them.
Yep.
So, yeah, and it's killing in sales right now too. So good for them. So
Nintendo does it again.
I guess.
Hey, people want to give them money now.
Hey, I gave them my money, so I can't complain. Yep. So that is it for us this week. Thank you for listening to the Donkey Kong Artist. We will be back next week with Patrick, hopefully, unless he is